Familiars are a system exclusive to GMS and some other regions like JMS, CMS, and TMS. It's pretty useful for everybody, giving some extra stats for late game stuff like % boss, % IED, or if you just wanted to grind, up to 100% extra meso and drop rate. It gets glanced over or skimmed by without people really understanding much of it beyond get to epic or unique and get these few lines, and I want to explain it a bit better for those that want to know what it's all about. Familiars are cards that drop for most mobs in the game, even some bosses, but much more rarely. For mobs that do drop cards, they have rarities defined by the color of their borders. Usually common ones are what you'll see the most, with gray borders, and sometimes rare ones will drop which will have blue borders. There's also epic and unique, with purple and yellow borders respectively, but these don't drop from enemies anymore. Reg server gets one tier higher than this, legendary with a green border, but you can only get these with red familiar cards through tier ups, and they cost real life money. To open the familiar system UI, you simply just open your keyboard shortcuts and add it to a button, and save. To use it, you need to find at least one of any familiar card, and double click it to register it. Then, you go to Setup, add a card, save it, open the beginner tab of your skills window, and double click Summon Familiars or add it to a button too. Now you have a creature that follows you around and does very small amounts of damage to enemies it encounters. Per reset, or day, it lasts roughly about 2 hours while out in the summoned. In the shop tab, you can restore some of this time with Familiar Essence for 300 points. You get these points by extracting familiars you don't want. If you go over to the collection tab and click on your familiar, it'll have a question mark below it. Click it, spend the mesos to reveal, and now you have 2 random potential lines. If you like a certain familiar, you can lock it so you don't accidentally extract it, or you could even rename it for 2 mil mesos. To get better lines on familiars, you'll either need to keep revealing new ones, or tier your current ones up. If you do plan on tiering said familiar up to epic or unique, you'll want to start with a rare and do something called fusion, which is getting a whole lot of the same familiar, feeding them all into one card, and tiering them up. At common, it requires 50 of the same card to tier it up to rare, which is why it's not even worth bothering with when rares just exist if you're already getting that many cards anyways. From rare to epic, it requires 100 of the same card, and epic to unique needs 150 of the same card. You can't just tier up from there, sadly though. First you need to get said familiar up to its max level of 5, which is done by just having the mountain present while grinding. Then it's all up to chance. Tiering up from rare to epic is an 80% success chance, while epic to unique is only 40%. If you fail a tier up, it halves the cards you used, meaning you need to collect even more familiar cards to try again. However, if it succeeds and tiers up, your card tiers up, consumes all the cards you poured into it, goes back down to level 1, and resets the lines of said card entirely. Then, it's still all down to chance, and you just hope for the best, and hope that you get some usable lines you're after and are useful to you, because if you don't get anything good, you just scrap that card or pour it into another familiar, and start the whole process over again. This is quite tedious and part of the reason why nobody likes doing familiar card farming / grinding. Even me. I've only ever grinded out familiars on my Ho-Young and instantly got permanently burnt out from it ever since. As for familiar stat lines you'll want to aim for, per tier, it shifts a bit. Thankfully, even common and rare familiars can still give some pretty nice lines. Common can get crit rate, 15% IED, and small amount of meso or drop rate, which gives 30% of each. Rare can give the same, but with a chance of higher values, along with some other maybe useful lines, like 1 extra second of invincibility when hit, and normal meso or drop rate, which now gives 50% each. Epic is where you start getting really good lines, like 20 to 30% IED and 20 to 30% boss damage, alongside restoring large amounts of health to either you or your party, or nearby allies. There's a lot of variations of those, but they all roughly do the same thing. You also get a chance of getting large amount for meso or drop rate, which now ups it to 100% for both. Unique doesn't add too much new notable lines, just increases the values of everything prior, way higher. Most notably, IED and boss can now go up to 40%. If you see lines that combine both meso and drop, keep in mind those lower each by a significant amount. At small, it's just 20% each, normal is 25%, and large is 50% each. This doesn't apply to the lines that combine both health and mana restored, however. Lastly, auto steal is good for grinding. and gives you a chance for an extra meso bag for each mob you fight. As for what lines to get through this familiar system, the go-to obvious answers would ideally be large drop, boss damage, maybe IED if you end up with those and your character needs a little more, and any other stats for your class. Things like crit damage, total damage, percent attack or magic attack, flat attack and magic attack, that kind of thing. You can have up to 3 familiars out at a time, and since each familiar gets 2 lines, that's a potential 6 lines to swap around and play with, figuring out what works best for you, or what you ended up with that's fine enough. How do you get more familiar slots though? Through badges, which is this tab on the familiar UI. Badges are these things right here that give a little bit of stats and are acquired from obtaining all familiar cards in a set of certain regions. Most of them sadly require boss familiar cards, which take way longer to get and is a near impossibility for some people. There are even some badges that are just impossible to get now too, like the beach badge or the magical badge. Anyways, you need certain numbers of badges to unlock each new familiar slot. Thankfully for the second familiar slot, it only requires 1 badge, but for the third one, it requires a whopping 10, which is a bit out of most people's reaches for a good while, until at least 250 or so. You can store these cards in storage and trade them around to other characters you want more familiar slots on, and you only need to register 1 card to add it to your collection. You can extract it afterwards, and it'll still be logged for the badge progress, which is nice. For a list of easy to get badges, without a single boss card required, let's start with the areas everyone can reach and obtain, but have very slight complications. Starter badge is just all 3 snails and Spore, spotted around Lith Harbor and 6-Path Crossway. And Snowflake badge is all the little puffball creatures from Rien. I separated these two from the rest because both the normal snail and Muru enemies have very low spawn density and spawn rates, which might make it a bit annoying and tedious to farm for over the other badges. It is an option to consider though, and with higher drop rate it does make it go faster, but know that you're looking at like 2 to 3 every respawn. Quite slow. Onto the actual easy badges with good spawn rates. Oppressor badge and Rebel badge are Edelstein sets and share a few of the same cards, so going for both is a good idea. Mineral badge goes further into Edelstein's Vern Mine. And lastly there's Lion badge, from mobs in Lion King's Castle, down in Elnath. We're now at 6 badges. Past here is way further areas in Arcane River, from 230 up to 255. These badges are Swamp for Morass, Ocean for Esfera, Void for Moonbridge, Labyrinth for Labyrinth of Suffering, and Apocalypse for Limina. That's 11 total for all the ones without bosses. Everything else available requires a bunch of pre-quests, party quests, familiar booster packs in Reg server, and or bosses with painfully low drop rates. All familiar card drops are affected by drop rate, so if you have a character with higher drop rate, farm for the cards on them, and then transfer over afterwards. Once you get your 10th badge, click the Roro familiar thing on the left side of the screen, sit through the dialogue, and you're done. Both familiars and badges are systems I wish Nexon would just make easier, as it's older content that's almost entirely forgotten about, with the rare exceptions of them adding more familiar card sets to Arcane River areas occasionally. We might get familiars for Grandest zones in the future, which would be pretty huge for people 260 and above. But for now, the highest level place you can bother to grind for these things while squeezing out as much XP as you can would be Limina. Both badges and familiars are nice systems that can help you out a ton in both grinding and bossing, but getting to that point can take a long while and is tedious, especially grinding out all those cards and relying on chance, hoping for not only it to tier up, but also for you getting useful lines. They might streamline it someday, and this video could age poorly, and I honestly hope it does. I would love for a better familiar system than what we currently have now. Anyways though, hopefully I was able to detail familiars out for you and help make sense of them, and thanks for watching. I have some more videos I want to cover for other systems in this game, so look forward to those in the future, and maybe someday I'll hopefully have covered most of the ones that confuse people. That's all.